Mike J. So I got to tell you, how do we guard against, or are we just letting it ride, putting all our eggs into the one basket with Michigan, knowing we're going to have other conference games to play? Do you feel like this is the ultimate, I want to be right versus we're going to get it right kind of game for media and fans?
I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis on this because it's similar to the Colorado game where it doesn't need to be your entire season, but it just feels like there's an extra emphasis because this is sort of the early season quiz and you want to see how Nebraska is going to grade out on certain things. I think we're making more of it because it's Michigan and that's a name brand team that recently played and won a national title. So I think there's that aspect of it. I also think there's a little bit of it where like Michigan has taken it to Nebraska more often than not when these teams have played. And so some of it is like, okay, if it's a measuring stick, at the very least, this needs to be a game in the second half. Like if Michigan wins this game going away, like 31-7, what is that going to tell you about how you feel about Nebraska? So I think there's a lot that's kind of wrapped up into it. And then throw in the fact it's a game on CBS. It's a 3:00 kick. There's going to be a huge recruiting environment. The staff hasn't shied away from making this one of the marquee games. It's one of the two biggest home games on the schedule. And they're a team that's right around the range where Nebraska finds itself in the Big Ten. So it's just all of it keeps adding up to being a measuring stick. And right, wrong, or indifferent, however this plays out, we're going to referendum the hell out of it because that's just sort of what we do. And talking about sports in 2025, the season's going to continue. If Nebraska wins this game and they win it 24-14 in dominating fashion and whatever else, they go through the bye week and then they lose to Michigan State. It doesn't really matter. Like the season's going to continue to play out after game 4, no matter what. Like that's the important thing. It's just, where do we think Nebraska finds itself as a program? We're using Michigan as a measuring stick. If it was Maryland this weekend, it wouldn't be a measuring stick, even though they're 3-0 and they played well. But because it's Michigan, that's a measuring stick game.
Interesting, too. Coach Rhule said something yesterday to us on the show where he was telling a story about George O'Leary and being at the AAC conference and how O'Leary kept cautioning him not to talk about schedule and looking ahead and just doing all the things that normal people do. And all I could think about was, I think we're just going to have to get over it or just know how it is. Like coaches and players think one way. Media and the fan base are going to think another. And it's fine. We're just going to have to negotiate that space, right? Like
we all have different roles.
Nebraska's going to focus on Michigan and not have it be the R word that you said. I love. We've gone through this, Mike J, where every game seems like a referendum on coaching prowess. Right?
Yep.
We've been through this for years.
But that's just the media cycle that we've created and live in for ourselves. Like we're referending, the NFL. Are the Chiefs? Should the Chiefs be panicking? They're 0-2. Is the season over for the Chiefs? Is Andy Reid on the chopping block? What's going to happen?
Patrick Mahomes still the best quarterback in the league.
No, he's done. He's done.
Nebraska's not special in that regard. Like everyone is doing it. And so that's just the media environment that we live in and that we've created. The important thing is that we have to also remember the season is going to continue regardless of the result of this game. And Nebraska still holds its kind of future in its hands, regardless of how they play this upcoming weekend.
When you take a look at if you're Butler or the brain trust defensively, you want to seek justice, or you're gonna try to take away Underwood? Like, where are you starting if you want to neutralize Michigan?
I wonder if you aren't initially focused on trying to slow down the running game to just basically say, hey, can Bryce Underwood
throw the ball?
Can Bryce Underwood beat us himself? Like if we take their running game and we at least force them into situations where they have to pass, and we've been really good against the pass, and maybe we haven't played, the most prolific passing offenses.
Brennan Sorsby the last.
Yeah, I was going to say Sorsby's last 2 weeks post playing Nebraska. He's put up
I had some idiot in the stream tell me that I was acting like Sorsby was can't remember the analogy he used, but I was like, number one, I haven't really talked about Sorsby that much, but I'm telling you, there were 30 scouts in Kansas
And
City.
he's thrown for like 600 yards the last 2 weeks.
85% of them were there to see Sorsby. Anything other than that is just your opinion. Guy's pretty good.
Yeah, and so it's not like they faced a better version of what Bryce Underwood is already. Now, I don't think that Cincinnati's better than Michigan as a whole, but to me, it seems like the thing that you'd want to be able to do is at least force this game to be, if you're going to lose to Michigan, Bryce Underwood needs to play well. Like I think that's, you don't want to take it out of his hands by just allowing him to run up and down the field and control clock and keep your offense on the sidelines and just, sort of slowly chunk you to death that way. So I think they have to kind of force the ball into Bryce Underwood's hands and see if you can make him beat you through the air, or if he has to take off and run. That's the other aspect of it too. So I think this is the sort of game where you want to see if the quarterback can beat you by taking away the running game. Can they do that is an entirely different question. Do they have the ability to force Michigan into having to pass more, to being, getting wins on first and second down up front? Are you going to commit certain run blitzes, assuming that that's what it's going to be? And can you live if they hit on a play action? Like if you expose yourself with some run blitzing and they go play action and they're able to get the pass off, you're going to be left back there pretty weak. So it's not without risk to do this. And so they've got a tough kind of task ahead. But I think the biggest thing is make Bryce Underwood show that he's good enough to beat you in your house in a conference game.
I don't know, Schaefer, how much time you're going to have, especially with like a real job being a hubby and Huddy. But like, I wonder if there's some Iowa game plan in versus Michigan this week where, they get in kind of that bear front or whatever. They cover up the guards. They play man to man. They force you to like throw it over their heads. There has to be some sort of balance there. But what you've seen from Underwood, you're not going to be afraid to play with 8 in the box. Now I get it. The difference, and it's not even a difference because Iowa has really good tight end play too. Michigan does have 2 really good tight ends. If you were going to kind of whittle this down to the game within the game, what unit are you pitting against what unit if you think it's going to dictate the outcome of the game in total?
I think if Nebraska's offensive line can do enough to keep the offense on the field, like I mean, you've got to be able to protect in the pass, and they've got to open up just enough that Emmett Johnson can like this. We're coming off of 2 games where Nebraska was ripping off big runs. Maybe they have 1 or 2 of those against Michigan, but it's going to be kind of a phone booth game, and you're going to have to be able to live with that. And can you survive? They're going to have to be able to run successfully at times between the tackles. Everything can't just be outside. And so I think it puts a lot on Nebraska's offensive line. I think if they are able to play well up front against Michigan's front, the rest of Nebraska's offense can really kind of come together and make things difficult. If you keep Dylan clean too, I mean, I think Nebraska's receivers can win against Michigan's back end. We'll see if that's how it plays out. But for me, as it often does, it starts up front. And specifically, I think Nebraska's offensive line is kind of the biggest X factor in all of this.
That's fascinating. Because I get, like, generally speaking, people will say, oh, it's about the trenches. I asked you a specific question. You picked Nebraska's O-line against Michigan's D-line. How many people in your sphere of influence would pick that as the matchup, do you think? Is that the consensus amongst your group? Because I think what we think is, oh, Michigan's got to gash Nebraska. Like, that's what I hear,
I don't
right?
think
It's
that
like,
at
it's like Michigan's O-line against Nebraska's D-line.
I think what happens is we're going to spend a lot of time being worried about what Michigan's going to do offensively when Nebraska's on the field defensively. This game's going to be won if Nebraska can put up enough points to win the game. Like, they have to score. It has to be, Nebraska played how many games in the last 2 years under Matt Rhule where you played well defensively and you don't win because you're not scoring. So, like, they have to be able to stay on the field offensively and sustain drives and give Kyle Kunanen a chance to kick field goals and to give yourself a chance to get upset about, red zone scoring opportunities if they're not able to do it with touchdowns. Like, the offense has to win this game for Nebraska in that regard. Like if they're only able to put up 10 or 13 points, they're not going to win. So to me, the offensive line has to play well enough for you to get closer to the high teens or the 20s. Like I just don't think Nebraska wins this game 10-3 or whatever. I've seen some comparisons to 2009 Oklahoma. I don't think this is that. I think Nebraska has to be able to get the points in the 20s to win this game.
Dave, the reason I agree with you on that, because DB asked me if that's where I would start, like as you were answering, and I nodded yes. The reason I would do that is when watching Michigan this year and just Wink Martindale
the total
defenses,
is only 46.
like Wink Martindale defenses in general, that dude brings a ton of pressure.
You know what I'm saying though?
Yeah. But
did you I'm sure you looked at that, Shape. Did that surprise you?
That they're only, or that the total is that low?
Yeah. And it opened at 44.5.
No, I think
that's
people
pretty
expect
low
it to be kind of a choke down possession game. Like I don't think that this is supposed to be a wide open, high flying kind of thing.
Yeah, so the thing that I keep coming back to with the offensive line versus defensive line is if the offensive line, with all the pressure, there's not going to be a ton of guys to help out their defensive backs because they bring a lot of pressure. If Dylan has enough time to get the ball where it needs to go, guys are going to get open.
Interesting.
Like guys will get open. They don't leave enough back to help to do what Cincinnati did to him. Like I'm watching.
Yeah, it's very different than that. I mean, this is going to be a high pressure defense, and they haven't really faced that this year.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch.
I'm
watching like this.
I'm watching them against Oklahoma, and they've got 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, or they've got 6 guys on the line and 2 guys right. Like they have a ton of guys right at the line of the scrimmage on pass plays. And if the offensive line can give Dylan just enough time, those guys are going to be open on the back end. Like that's just, and Oklahoma got it a couple times. They couldn't get it consistently because I think Mateer gets his eyes down pretty fast after he starts to run. If Dylan can get the read right pre-snap, I think Nebraska is going to have a chance.
Let me ask you something real quick, Mike J. Future headlines. If Nebraska wins, who's the first assistant coach you'll be writing about?
If Nebraska wins, who's the first assistant coach I'm writing about?
Or coordinator?
I've never, not never, but I'm not sure that I've thought about it in this sense. So I don't really, my brain is spinning on where to go.
Would it be Raiola?
I mean, I think if they play well, that certainly.
Would it be Donnie? Right? Like
it could be.
Future headlines.
If it goes the way I think it will, Donnie, if he's not the first guy you write about, is second after Dana.
That would be. Just think about that for a second.
Some of it is game flow, right? Because, like, let's say Bryce Underwood melts down and has 3 interception day, then we're talking about whatever's happening defensively and Williams and Butler and how they threw an NFL look at a freshman and had no idea. I mean, future game flow is going to be a big part of that. I have one for you that Brunt's kind of tossed at me during the game last week, and I'll throw this and then get off the air, and you guys can discuss it. How is it that we spend almost no time ever talking about Glenn Thomas, and how big of a role could he have had in all of this for Dylan Raiola?
He's very smart. That's a heck of a question.
That's a good question.
So, all right, we'll talk about it after. Shape, that's fantastic. Can I just answer this quick before we go to break?
You just love pulling the grenade and throwing it and running, huh?
No, we'll come back.
Well, no, I would have loved to have had the conversation with you, but I got to go here at 9:30, and
I know we were supposed to get you out of here early, so I apologize.
It's better if you guys discuss it without me, anyways. Then let's beat a Bay talk for sure.